All right. I thought I'd do a little recap here for the weekend round for those of you that play your rounds before I get to my rounds. I have one round to play today, Saturday, and one round to play on Sunday. I like to play a round every day. So I've got my final weekend round notes. So I've cleaned all my notes up, and this is what I've decided to do on each one of the holes. So when you're looking at your notes, cleaning them up just to get an idea of what we're doing. So when we go to hole number one, we've been approaching all of these par threes with a Saturn and a low powered ball so that we're stuck on the green. In some cases, we may be lowering our chances for hole in one, but I think our chances are just as good on this hole. I am going to change up a little bit on this hole of how I've been doing it. There's a real slope right here to the right of the hole, and I've been trying to go from behind it and bring it back to the hole. And what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to go a little further to the right and see if I can bring it, if I can quit getting all of these things open and bring it back down to the hole. So I'm going to move my landing position on this hole just a little bit to try and increase my odds of getting a hole in one on it. But I'm still going to bring a Saturn, and it's on the weekend round, so I'm going to bring, we've established through our practice rounds that we can bring a zero power ball here, and we'll be right, we have enough maneuverability at the red line, so we're right at max club. We kind of like to be at minimum club, but we'd have to use a really big power ball, and here max club, we want to be either at max or minimum, so that the numbers for our wind adjustment are good. But if we use a low power ball, it's going to really knock that down. So we're going for hole in one on the first hole. We really want to try and pick something up on the very first hole of the tournament. Hole number two. Okay, so at the beginning of the week, this was one of those holes I was undecided on how I was going to play, because you really only need to lay up into this area. And obviously, if you can get, the further up you can get in this area, so if you're up here by this rough, close to it or right in the center here, you're in a much better spot than if you're back here and you laid up. So if you're going to lay up on this, figuring out, like, I want to be in this spot every time. So even though a lot of times we say a layup shot, a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm just laying up into this area, so anywhere out there's fine. But that may be true, but this area is much better than this area. So even though you're laying up, you want to pick your spot out there and try and be in that same spot every time. So your second shot is very similar to the last second shot, so that you can try and get those shots down and be consistent on this. So I've decided that I'm going to play this hole slightly aggressively, and I'm going to try and get my ball in front of this line. Somewhere out in here is where I'm trying to get. And I don't have to get far out in there, but if I can get through that gap, even if I'm short on the bottom end, I've got a nice wood shot to get in. And if I end up in the rough out here and I blow through it, I can get on from here with my Nirvana. If I'm in the sand right here, I can barely get on with my Spitfire. So the downside of trying to go for it down here is that you get caught up here, and then you are in deep trouble. Deep trouble. You've got to get past this area here. You need to get on this side of this area, and if you're out here in the rough, you're still in deep trouble. You need to get down here to this mouth. Now, when we started the week off on this hole, I brought a big dog, and I didn't really like my second shot with my big dog. And then I brought a Guardian, because if I can hit up here, I can actually start off on the green and I can backspin it and try and get it, to come back towards the hole, and you can end up on green high putting for a birdie. And this is a tough hole just to get birdie on. But what I found with my Guardian is that there wasn't enough of a hill here, and I couldn't get the greens too narrow at this angle, that I couldn't backspin it, and I don't really have a shot at trying to pick up the eagle here. It's really just a birdie shot, just an easy birdie shot, because you're on the green. So what I'm going to do in the final round is I'm going to switch my wood I'm going to have to hit this shot down here into the clear, and my wood that I'm going to bring is going to be a sniper, so that I've got the ball guide to try and bring the ball up to the hole and at least give me a shot at eagle. Because I'm getting on the green with the big dog and the guardian, but I'm not having any shot at all for the eagle. It's just like, hey, we just need to get on the green and get a putt and get a birdie. So I'm going to bring my sniper in the final round because I think it'll give me an eagle shot. So I've got my final round, and there's no not bringing your best stuff here on the final round. So I'm bringing an extra mile, a kingmaker, and a sniper. And those are the only clubs that I'm bringing. Leaving my putter at home. Hole number 3. The traditional way on hole number 3 is to land here. This is your first landing spot, and you don't have to be all the way up there against that rough. You kind of want to be beyond this line, but you don't have to press the issue. Your next shot, you want to try and get it so you can land here and you can dribble up here, and obviously the farther you can dribble up there, the better. But you don't want to risk it on that shot if you're you don't want to be doing any overpower or anything like that, because at the end down here, it really tightens up, and you have the least amount of control of your ball at the end of the run. So being in front of the sand, being on this side of the line, you're going to be fine. And when you're approaching the green, there's a lot of different ways to do this green. There's a backstop on the green, so you can roll up on the backstop and bring your ball down. But I'm never a big fan of the racetrack stuff. So if you find yourself out on this side and the only way that you can get towards the hole is to use that backstop, then that's what you're going to need to do. But if you can set yourself up on the second shot and get, if you draw the line here where the rough is, and it comes like this, if you can get anywhere close to this line, you actually have a straight in shot to the hole. You don't have to, you can start your ball off on the green and go right to the hole, not start your ball off on the fringe and then try and get it to the hole. It's always best if you can start off on one surface and stay on that surface. So when we do our layup shot down here, anywhere here in front of this sand is fine. But if we can inch our ball up into that, towards that line just a little bit, that's really going to help us, because we'll have a much better shot for the green. So the short iron I'm going to bring on this hole is going to be my Hornet, because I'm going to expect that I'm going to get it. I'm going to lay it up. I'm going to bring the best. I'm going to try and be in the best spot, and then I'm going to bring the club for that best spot. And if I end up a little short, I can still use my navigator to do the backstop and try and roll it back into the hole. So I'm kind of going for 2 eagle shots here. That's the smart play. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a berserker, and I'm going to try and get over here on the first shot, just barely over here. And if you bring a big dog and you've got a power 5 ball, you do have the opportunity to land out in this area here and then get up to the hole. Now you may have to do a slight overpower in order to do it, but you have a shot of actually getting on into and putting for eagle, as opposed to taking this short iron shot from here to here for eagle. Now the downside is that you get caught up in the rough out here, but if you get caught up in the rough out here, your rough iron is going to be able to get you in the same exact second spot that you're going to end up in here. So there's no downside as far as that goes. The downside on this hole, the risk, is that if you get caught up in the rough on this side of that line. So if you get caught up in the rough up here at the top, you're going to have a difficult shot, because you're going to start off over here and then you're going to have to negotiate this little island to get over into this area, and you're going to end up being short out here, which is fine, and you'll have to use the backstop. But you can easily make that shot. Even if you're out in this area here, obviously if you can get over here in one and you got a big dog, you can make it from here to here in one shot. So anywhere you end up out there, as long as you're in the fairway, you'll be able to get on in 2, or excuse me, you'll get on in 3. So the only bad thing about doing anything risky here is if you mess up on this side of that line. You mess up on this side of that line and you are in trouble. Big trouble, because you may not be able to make it from the rough here to the fairway here. And so But we're coming to this hole with a power 5 ball, trying to land right there, trying to get on the green in 2, trying to putt for eagle. We really want to pick up the eagle on this hole. This is a hole that if a lot of guys, a lot of players, the mass majority of players are going to get a birdie on this hole. And then the second biggest number are ones that are going to get par on this hole. And then there's going to be a smaller number that are going to get eagles. And if you can be in that group, that's going to separate you from the crowd. All right, that was hole number 3. Hole number 4. We're coming at this. We're going to play this the same way we've been playing it. We may have a better shot if we were down in one of these areas. There's a shot here, there's a shot out here, there's a shot here. But coming straight at it, starting on the green, going right at it with the Saturn, we give ourselves a good shot at a hole-in-one, but we also give ourselves a great shot of just having a short putt and going to the next hole, as opposed to coming down here and clipping the sand. So I'm still going to be coming at this. Now, I don't think my account on this hole, I think you'll have to use a 1 power ball. And so, if you've got a low wind 1 power ball, the weekend round is definitely the place to bring it out. So if you have a 5 or a 4 wind 1 power ball, this will be the place to use it. If I have any in my bag, I will be using a low wind ball on this hole for this weekend. But we want to go for that hole-in-one. This is a hole that all week long I have not gotten my eagle. And and part of it has to do with where I'm at if I went to a lower power ball, like a 2 power ball instead of a 3 power ball, I could probably I'll end up in exactly the same spot, but I would be in a different spot in my club, my short iron coming to the green, instead of being where I'm at is I'm in between maximum. When I get out here to take the shot into the green, I'm landing right here, and this shot coming in is in between max and mid club, and so it's an odd number. So with my short iron, normally I play at 1-1, 1-9, 1-1 at max, 1-9 at mid. Here I'm playing it at 1-3 because there's an elevation difference, and we're in between those two numbers, and so all week long I've been working on it. And I finally got it down to 1.3, and I'm pretty much dead on. I just barely, I circled the drain like 2 times in the opening round, and it just didn't drop. But this hole, we have to get an eagle on this hole at least once during this tournament, at least once during this final round. We've got to get the eagle on this hole. So we're going to bring our QB. We want to bring our most accurate club, because we're trying to lay up, and we're trying to lay up into this area right here. Okay? That's the area we want to be in. We don't want to be past 135 yards, or 235. If you're past 235, then what you've done is you've taken the green here. If you look at this line, if I can get my pen to work, if you look at this line, you've taken, and if you're on this side of the line over here, you're now having to either start your first bounce off on the fairway, or you're having to apply a lot of backspin in order to get yourself back on the green. We want to be on this side of the line so that we can run our ball all the way up the green. We can start off on the putting surface, and we can end up in the hole. So there's a fine line there. A lot of guys are just popping it out there and trying not to get in this rough out here. I don't even want to get close to that rough. I want to be right off of this point. And you can be anywhere out in here off of that point. But the closer you are to it, obviously, the better off you are in your club. But we've got to get an eagle on this. This is a hole that, like I said, I haven't eagled this all week long, and this is a hole I eagle a lot. So I'm pretty fired up to get 2 eagles on this hole. All right, hole number 6. Hole number 6, we're still not making any changes. I would really like to be able to hit out here and consistently get on, so I can make this second shot a lot easier. But the deal is that it is just so risky when you come out here, and this can totally ruin your round. You know, you come out here with great intentions to just dribble out into this area right here, and you end up in the rough up here, and you're done. You cannot make it from up here on the rough to get in the green. And if this is the shot, you know, like if you look in your bag and you say, hey, this is the shot, I'm trying to hit here, and then I'm trying to dribble out into this area somewhere, and this is what I'm doing, make sure you bring the biggest rough iron that you have. And it will not matter whether that club has any ball guide or not. So if you have an Amazon, and you've got lower developed clubs, that Amazon's going to have a lot more distance than anything else in the bag. Bring your Amazon, bring whatever the longest rough iron is that you have, because if you're taking this shot and you get caught up here, you're in trouble. I mean, that might be a good club to put in there no matter what shot you're bringing on this hole, because if you mess up in the rough on this hole, you're going to need distance. Even if you're down here, you're still going to need distance. We're playing this hole kind of safe. We're just trying to get out here. And I'm using this landing pad right here. I'm using this landing pad to get me out into this area. And I'm not getting very far into this trough or into this neck right here. I would love to get into that neck and not put this rough into play, but I haven't figured out a way to do it. And the landing area out here wants your ball to feed in this direction. So it wants to take you away from that neck. You would think that it would kind of slope towards it and everything would feed into that neck. It doesn't, even though there's a hillside right here. So we're just trying to lay up out here, and then we've got our big dog to try and get the rest of the work done. Now, no matter where you end up on this course, whether you're down here at the bottom or whether you're out here where I'm at, most of the people I see play this hole, where they're getting caught up is down here at the green. So most people are coming at this from right in this area right here, and they're trying to navigate through this hillside. They're trying to navigate through this bunker. And so they've got very short green here, and they're trying to maneuver the ball around like this to try and get around them. And I'm seeing a lot of people either getting caught up right here, getting caught up in the sand, or getting short and then rolling back just a little bit. I'm trying to take this entire area right here out of play. And what I'm doing is that no matter where I can get up here, I want to land on this upper pad. So I'm trying to get my ball, my big dog, far enough down into the hole over here, right here, so that I can start off right about there. You know, somewhere in this, I'd like to be on this side of the line, somewhere in this area, so that I can put on just a little bit of top spin, maximum left-hand side spin, and curl to bring it around this backstop and bring it into the hole and take this stuff over here completely out of the picture. So even if wherever you end up out here, even with a rough iron, if you're shooting your rough iron and you're out here, let's say you went for that one shot and you're shooting your rough iron and you're out here, and you can only make it to right here. Well, then you can make it to right here. And if you can get on this upper one and keep your ball in the fairway here, now you're pin high. So even if you have to take a pitch shot or a chip shot, you're taking that chip shot with maximum green at the same level as the flagpole. Whereas if you come down here and you make a mistake and you're doing it, now you're having to take that chip shot to save your round. And you're still having to deal with that sand, and you're still having to deal with a very short green that's way uphill. So if you miss this shot and you're in the rough, try and get up on this upper level. You know, try and, wherever you're at up here, it doesn't really matter. All the way to the tip here is a straight shot right to the green. So if you do make a mistake here, or even if you don't make a mistake, in my case, I'm trying to shoot my shot to here, and then I'm trying to go from there to here and curl it into the hole and take this completely out of the picture. So I'm not going to change anything I'm doing on this hole that I've done all week. I'm going to be bringing my extra mile, a Titan, and a big dog. And hopefully that's all I'll need. Hole number 7. This is another one of those ones. I like this hole, and I've shot this hole. I am really laying up out here. I know a lot of people. I know that if you use a big ball and some overpower, you can start off over here and get up and have a nice little shot. But I like the second shot here so much that I'm not interested in doing anything that can get me in the rough. Because if you're in the rough from here up, I mean, you're still going to get on, and you'll have to bounce over the sand, but you can still get on, no problems. You end up in this sand here, or you end up in the rough down in this area, or you blow your drive up here, anywhere in those areas you make a mistake, you will not get on no matter what. And now you've turned a really easy birdie hole into a par hole. So what I like to do is I like to lay my shot up, and if you can see these moguls that are in this area right here, that's as far as I want to go. I don't need to get down into here. I'm going to bring a big ball. I'm going to bring a big club for my wood. I'm going to bring a big dog. And I'm going to be able to easily get on from this area. So even if I start my first bounce here and I clip the rough right here and I just dribble out into this spot, my big dog with a kingmaker, the red line's going to be somewhere right in that area right there. And I'm going to easily be able to start my ball where I like to start it, which is right here on this hillside, to try and take that sand trap out of play. And I'm going to come straight up to the hole. So you don't have to get any farther. If you're in between those lines, you're good to go. So if you can get down here, even better. But if you could only get there, no problem. And you don't have to take any risks here. If you use a 3 power ball, and I'm using a kingmaker, so I have lots of side spin, you don't even have to put any curl in order to miss the sand. You can just dribble your ball right out into this area. It doesn't take very much topspin. So it's a real layup shot where I'm trying to be just in this area. I don't want to go any further. I don't need to get any further. And then coming in from the bottom of the hill, instead of trying to negotiate to try and get to this green, because the pin is kind of like right at the spot where the hill breaks. I mean, it's on the flat just a little, but it's right there at that spot, so it's hard to get it to it. If anywhere on the dribble into it, you get close to that line, it'll suck it down the hill. You can hit your ball a little fast here, and it'll go up on the backstop that's and it'll roll it back towards the hole. But I like to come at the hole from the bottom up so I can go straight at it and not have to allow for any of this ridge. All right, that was hole number 7. That's a hole that a lot of people are not going to get eagle on, but if you, once again, most people are going to end up with birdie, then you're going to have a group of people that got par, and then you're going to have a smaller group that got eagle. And if you can be in that eagle group, that is a big, big, big hole. Favorite par 3. Now, I'll tell you, if you're using a Saturn and you don't like the shot from the top of the hill, the best way to use your Saturn on this hole is to start off over here on the green. It's always best when you can do, if you can start off on a surface and stay on that surface. So the safe shot here is to bring your Saturn. You got lots of backspin. Start off on the green, low on the green, so you can see where the hill is real steep on this side. Real steep. So if you can start on the non-steep part of it, low enough down that you're on the non-steep part, when you apply your backspin, you're not bringing the ball in real fast and trying to roll it down this hill. You're kind of stopping it right there and then hoping that you got the right line to dribble it into the hole. So if you want a really safe way to play this, if this hole's been causing you problems and you have a Saturn, you can start off directly on the green. You can start down here and use more of this backspin to whip your ball around, but sometimes you'd end up having a lot of speed when it goes past the hole and you'll end up down here. Now we're going to be shooting from the top of the hill, going straight at the hole. I'm starting off with my blue rings on my Saturn, and I'm wedging them in this area right here, up against the rough fairway area as my starting point. And then I'm going to adjust, so like if here's pin high, we're adjusting the tip with about 3 backspin and then maybe just a little teeny bit of right hand side spin so that we get the tip of the ball even with that line. Then we're going to move our landing spot just slightly to get that so it's pointed right at the hole, We're going to make a full ring adjustment. 1.9 per ring with our Saturn. And go straight at it. All right. That was hole number 8. So we haven't made any changes really on some of those holes, but some of them we are making slight changes. This hole we're not going to make any changes at all. We're going to come at this with our super accurate stuff. Everything's going to be accurate because this is the only hole that you really have any legitimate shot at an albatross. The other 2 par 3s, are not albatross holes. So we're going to come at this, sorry about that, we're going to come at this with our quarterback and a kingmaker and a sniper. And we're trying to get down into this area right here, and you do not have to get all the way down in there. Now you have to get all the way down in there if you're bringing a lesser ball. So if you're bringing a katana, you're going to need to get further down in there in order to be, no matter what, be within the range of that ball. If you're bringing a quasar, you're going to have to be further down there. Now if you're using a quasar on your drive shot here, what's going to happen is when you try and make this bend around the corner, you're probably going to have to use a little bit of curl. Maybe a third, maybe half curl in order to get it to go around the bend. The problem with it is you have to lead it enough. So if your first bounce is here, and I am always on this green going to leave myself 2 rings right here of space. So if I've got my ring and then I've got my next ring, and I'm going to be 2 rings out from that spot every single time. Because that way if you hit a grate on the inside, like if your setup was right there and you hit a grate on the inside, when it makes this curve, it doesn't clip the rough right here. Okay? It still gets out here in the clear. Because on this one we don't want to be pushed up against something where, hey, the only shot that will make it here is a grate to the left or a perfect. We want to make sure that whenever we're trying to get into a trough like this or any of these spots, that we give ourselves a grate to the left or the right or a perfect, and we're still going to end up somewhere out in this area. So don't get too close to any edges. Like you don't want to be close here and you don't want to be close here. So if you're using a 2-power ball with 2 side spin, when you get out into this area, you're going to see your next landing is going to be out in here. And so the ball is going to be heading in, this direction. So in order to get it to trail off into this way, you're going to have to apply curl. But that's going to, from your first landing, that's going to swing your ball around, and you take the chance of clipping this rough right here and then just dribbling on. So if you brought a lower powered ball like a quasar and then you just dribble out here and you're sitting right here, you're not going to have enough. It's not going to, even with a big dog, you may have difficulty trying to get to that landing pad to get on. So if you're going to bring a lower power ball, then you need to execute better and get further down in there. If you bring a bigger power ball, it can clean up some of your errors and make your clubs much better. So if you do end up short, you can still achieve the same results. If you end up in the perfect spot, then you're set. So we're going to go at this with a quarterback and a kingmaker to try and get down into this hole, but we don't have to get all the way in. And then we're going to use our sniper, the most accurate wood that we have with the best ball guide, to try and start off on this landing pad and go straight at the hole for an albatross. Now the way it's been working is if I get down anywhere around this line, maybe just right in front of that line, from there to here to the island, the red line on the island has been about right in the middle, somewhere in that neighborhood with my sniper. So I'm right at maximum club. So I've got a super accurate wood, 100% accurate, 1 per ring for wind at its maximum distance. So that means that, we're as close to that 1.0 per ring as we can be with that kingmaker, and we don't have to do anything overpowered, starting it off on the fringe and then dribbling it into the hole. This is an awesome albatross shot. And it's super imperative that we give ourselves a shot at that albatross by executing this first shot. So if you haven't been using your good stuff up to this point, you've been saving it because you didn't have a lot and you've been saving it, this is the round to pull it out on. And I know during the entire practice rounds leading up to this weekend round, I've been using good stuff. I've been trying to show you guys what it would look like, using the good stuff. But these tournaments are so competitive that you really can't afford, in the opening rounds and the qualifying rounds, because it does get down to tiebreakers. You really can't afford to have lower scores in there just because you didn't want to pull out a tight or a kingmaker or a katana, if that's what you're using. But today, weekend round, you got to use your good stuff. But we are going to be going for albatross on this hole. We want to end our round with that albatross. All right, that was a recap going into the weekend round of exactly what my plan is. I think in my bracket, in my master's bracket, you're going to have to shoot a 26 to even have a shot at a win. In my expert bracket, you might win a bracket with a minus 25. But I think in my expert bracket, it's also going to take a minus 26 to outright win. I think if you shoot a minus 26 in the expert, you're probably going to outright win. But there may be 2 or 3 people that shoot 26 in some of these expert brackets, and in which case you're going to need those tiebreakers. I have fairly decent tiebreakers with my opening round. I shot a minus 24. In the qualifying round, I only shot a minus 11. All right. That was a recap going into the weekend round. Thanks for watching.